Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. I know I haven't made a video in a while. This past weekend, I was watching the NFL draft, seeing what the Patriots were doing, seeing how the other teams around them in the AFC East were doing, in the conference or in the NFL in general, who they were picking, and what the future may hold for each team. And yesterday, I celebrated my birthday as much as I could with coronavirus going on. Not too much celebrating. So, I've been a little busy the past few days, but we're back today. We're in a different location, if you couldn't tell. Moved to the living room out instead of sitting on the floor in the bedroom. So, without further ado, let's jump right into how the Patriots did and what I think. In the first round, I had them, if you watched my NFL draft, my mock draft video, I had them taking Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma. I think that was a huge need for the Patriots. I was hoping they would take him. I think he's going to be a really good player. And ironically, in typical Bill Belichick fashion, he traded out of the first round pick, which, makes sense. They didn't have a second round pick, which they wasted on the trade for Mohamed Sanu. In my personal opinion, they wasted that pick that ended up being 55 overall for Mohamed Sanu. Belichick probably noticed that, he realized that they needed to accumulate some more picks. So, he traded out of 23, and with number 23, which he traded to the Los Angeles Chargers, they ended up taking Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma. So he went number 23 like I predicted, but he didn't go to the Patriots. So that was a little upsetting. I actually really wanted that player, but I understand where Bill Belichick was coming from. You definitely need to stack up on more quality picks than what the Patriots had going into the first round and even the second and third rounds of the draft. So they traded back with the Chargers. They acquired number 37 overall, which was the closest pick to what they had. And with the 37th pick in the draft, the New England Patriots took Kyle Duggar, safety out of Lenoir-Rhyne University. For those of you that are in group chats with me or know me, if I've talked to me before, the making of this video, that I'm not very happy with this pick, like whatsoever. I didn't understand. I still don't really fully understand what Bill was thinking with this pick, what the Patriots in general were thinking with this pick. I'm not saying Kyle Duggar isn't going to be a good NFL player. I think it's more likely that he won't be a good NFL player than, the odds that he will be. That's the highest a player from Lenoir-Rhyne University has ever been taken in the NFL draft in NFL history. And it's the first time a player has been taken from that university in 20 years in the NFL draft. So let that sink in a little bit. It doesn't really make too much sense to me. I would have been fine with him ending up as a New England Patriot eventually. Even if it was in the second round, Bill probably could have traded back again and accumulated, even more picks and better quality picks and still taken this guy probably 10, 15 picks down the line. I kept hearing some teams had him as like the third best, fourth best safety, that's really where he went. Teams had him on their draft boards that high, which it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But even so, those teams also have other needs, and they probably wouldn't have been taking him. So, it's yet to be seen. Most of the time when Bill trades back and takes a defensive back in the second round, especially in the second half of his tenure with the Patriots, it hasn't ended well. Duke Dawson a couple years ago lasted a year. He traded up for him, and he's no longer a Patriot. He hasn't been a Patriot. Joanne Williams. Bill traded up for him too last year, and he hasn't played. He didn't play last year. You can't keep stashing these second round picks, defensive backs that don't play immediately, because especially now with Tom Brady gone, you need to hit on nearly every draft pick you have, especially your first draft pick. That guy has to be a day one starter in the NFL. He can't sit and learn and be a depth piece. And Duger could start day one possibly, but that's like filling the Duron Harmon role since Bill traded Duron Harmon to the Detroit Lions. There's that safety spot, that third safety spot that they occasionally like to use every once in a while in packages, on defense. It just, this guy, you spent the 37th pick on a guy that's probably going to take that role. Like that's his closest line, to starting on this team. So that doesn't make much sense to me. You got a 5th round pick for Duron Harmon, and you basically drafted the closest thing to his immediate replacement at number 37 overall. That makes no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever to me. But again, in Bill we trust, and I still wouldn't be feeling too good about that pick if it wasn't for the other picks that Bill made. I think he actually did a really good job from here on out. There's a couple of picks that were a little questionable. There was probably guys that people personally had higher on their big boards, on their NFL draft big boards. But, Bill likes the guys that he sees. He likes specific players. He took players from pretty good schools. They weren't all like no names like Lenoir University. With the 60th pick, he took Josh Uche, the linebacker from Michigan. He's a little undersized, but he's a good rusher, and I actually really liked him. I thought that was a really good pick by the Patriots. And then, only 27 picks later, they took Anfernee Jennings, another linebacker from Alabama. And I know a lot of Alabama players, it's 50-50 at this point, in my personal opinion. They either work out and they're stars or they're average players. It seems like it goes either way with Alabama, prospects. And I think this was honestly could possibly be a steal. I like Anfernee Jennings a lot. I heard of him beforehand. I think he could have gone higher. He probably was going to go higher, and I think his combine didn't really work out very well. So the Patriots were able to get him here at 87th overall in the 3rd round of the draft. The next pick, 4 picks later, they took Devin Asiasi, tight end from UCLA. I think he has a lot of potential. There were other tight ends that I personally wanted the Patriots to take over him. Sorry, my dog's crying in the background. She wants out of her cage. There were other tight ends that he could have definitely taken instead of Asiasi, but it's yet to be seen with some of these guys. She makes some really weird noises. Yep. And so Asiasi, he looked like, watching the videos on him, it looks like he could work out. He has a lot of potential. He's built. They said he could be a George Kittle kind of player. If he works out like that, then that's one of the biggest steals, if not the biggest steal in this draft. So I'm really excited to see. I'm finally happy to see Bill, look at the tight end position and be like, oh man, we need to fill players in that spot. Who would have thought? So all of a sudden, we're filling up tight ends though, because 10 picks later he trades up. I think he overpays just a little bit, and that's possibly because he traded within the division with the New York Jets. He gave 2 4th round picks this year and a 6th round pick next year to trade up to number 101 overall in the 3rd round and take Dalton Keene, tight end out of Virginia Tech. So he went back-to-back tight ends, 10 picks within each other, and he traded up heavily for the 2nd one. And he ended up not, getting another 4th round pick, which he really excels in the 4th round. If you really look back on some players he's taken, Joe Tooney, James White, Jarrett Stidham's going to be the starting quarterback, it looks like, this year, since he didn't take a quarterback in the draft. So he was a 4th round pick last year, I believe. And so there's a lot of 4th round picks that Bill has succeeded with. And, we'll see if that was a smart move, not sticking in the fourth round. Fast forwarding to the fifth round pick, 159th overall, which was actually from the Raiders originally. The Patriots took their kicker in the fifth round, Justin Warosser. He's a kicker out of Marshall. So it, in fact, doesn't look like Steven Gostkowski is going to be re-signed, even though he said he wants to continue playing in the NFL. Doesn't look like that his, it looks like his time with the Patriots is over, his tenure. It's officially done. So Warosser, I've watched a little bit of videos on him, some tape. He looks pretty good. He went to Marshall. There's, unfortunately, something that's been overshadowed is that like third party, gun loving group, I guess, tattoo that he has on his arm. And people are kind of upset with that. He says he's going to get it removed or covered up. It is what it is. People have their beliefs. I think, being radical is a little too much. But I have yet to see if this guy is radical in any way. Just by having a tattoo doesn't mean you're an awful person. So obviously him wanting to get it removed, I don't know if the team got to him or if he's, deciding that on his own. But, that's his decision to make. And hopefully he ends up being a really good kicker for, at least 10 years for the Patriots, because that seems to be their MO with taking these kickers. They last a long time with the team. Next pick, they selected Michael Onwenu. Michael Onwenu from Michigan, a guard from Michigan. So they double dipped with Michigan. They took Josh Uche earlier with the linebacker from Michigan. So Bill went back to Michigan and took a guard. I think this was a good pick. You need to still build the offensive line. It seems like sometimes in the NFL, offensive linemen are just moving in and out. It's someone new every year unless you're really a bona fide star in this league. So taking a guard here with Joe Thuney making over 14 million on the franchise tag, and him possibly, probably getting traded sooner or later, whether it's at the trade deadline or before the season starts, or maybe they keep him this year and they just let him go in free agency next year. Trying to get a replacement is a really good idea, and stacking up on the offensive line is also a really good idea, because with Dante Scarnecchia gone, the offensive line coach for the Patriots, it's going to get a little tougher because they would always be coached up. So it's yet to be seen how this offensive line is going to do this season, but that's a step in the right direction. And he went right back to the offensive line with the next pick, taking Justin Herron, offensive tackle from Wake Forest. So again, targeting the offensive line, going back to, the tackle position instead of the guard position, which could also be a need because Marcus Cannon, he's making a lot of money. I'm not sure he doesn't really has it anymore. He's very injury prone. He has a large cap hit, but he's going to be gone probably after this season, if not the season after that. So sooner rather than later, you have to replace these guys. So getting a young offensive line and having them learn from guys in front of them, that seems to be, if you can't get an elite offensive lineman with the top pick in the draft, this is the next way to go. It's the next best thing. So moving on, we got another sixth-round pick. So the Patriots had 3 sixth-round picks. This was number 204 overall from the Texans. Cash Maluia. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. I know people pronounce my name incorrectly all the time, so hopefully I can get a pass on that one. But he's a linebacker from Wyoming. I thought this was another good pick because on the defense, Bill loves the defense. He's a defensive-first coach. It seems like that's the side of the ball that the Patriots are going to have to lean on more than others, more than the offense, probably more than really the special teams too. Hopefully the special teams isn't the one we're leaning on this season, but defense is the way to go because there's no Tom Brady. The offense is probably going to take a step back if that's even possible. I know a lot of people thought they took a step back last year, but now there's no Tom Brady at all. So we're probably going to see a huge step back. That's yet to be seen, obviously, with Jarrett Stidham. But, Loading up on linebackers is a really good idea. Like I said, in the last video, they lost Kyle Van Noy, they lost Jamie Collins. That's why I wanted them to take Kenneth Murray with that first round pick. You get a first round talent at linebacker, which was definitely the most needed position that the Patriots had on defense, and probably on the team in general, going into the draft. Loading up on these guys makes perfect sense. The only two linebackers that were really relevant going into the draft that are on the Patriots are Dante Hightower and Jawan Bentley. And those guys have both shown that when they get injured, they can be out for multiple weeks. And Dante Hightower's making a lot of money, and he's getting a little up there in age. And Jawan Bentley's the next guy up when it comes to probably being a leader for the linebacking core. So getting Ushi and Jennings early, who can also rush the passer, and then getting Cash Maluya, that makes perfect sense to me. Even if it's a 6th round pick, you need to get depth on this team. And finally, with the 7th round pick, 230 overall, the Patriots took a center, another offensive lineman, but a center this time, Dustin Woodard from Memphis. This again makes perfect sense to me because, although David Andrews, that's some other news, thankfully. David Andrews says he's going to be able to play this season after missing the entire season last year with blood clots in his lungs, which, obviously he needed to take that time off. And I'm really happy that he's been able to recover, and he's going to be back for this team, at least for now. I'm hoping it stays that way. But taking Dustin Woodard not only gives you some relief just in case something happens to David Andrews again, but they also lost Ted Karras to the Miami Dolphins. He left in free agency and signed with the Dolphins, and he was a pretty good fill-in for David Andrews last year. So Dustin Woodard, at the very least is going to be a backup probably immediately in the 7th round. That's a really good pick in my personal opinion. Another news too, James Devlin is retiring, the fullback for the Patriots. His complications with his neck surgery. So on one end, you get David Andrews back. He was able to recover, but on the other end, you lose your fullback. Your fullback in James Devlin. Very unfortunate turn of events there. Really wanted him to stay. He was definitely one of the top blockers on the team. He was a nice safety valve for rushing in the end zone or getting a first down, little check downs every once in a while. I think he would have definitely helped Jarrett Stidham this season, but you got to move on. Hopefully Sony Michel can figure out how to run without a fullback in front of him, and that's yet to be seen. So overall, with the Patriots draft, I'll give them a B. I'll give the Patriots a B. If I had to give them a grade, A, B, C, D, and F, I'd give them a B. They made it work with the first round pick that they traded out of, although they lost out on the guy that they wanted them to get. They're definitely not. They don't deserve the best grade. There was a lot of other teams that did really well. I think the Dolphins in your own division, they did very well in this draft. I think the Dallas Cowboys did a really good job. I think the Minnesota Vikings did a really good job in this draft. I think the only team that definitely did worse than the Patriots was the Green Bay Packers. And actually, you might be able to throw the Philadelphia Eagles in there too. I think they took the wrong wide receiver in the first round. They should have taken Justin Jefferson instead of Jalen Reagor. And then they took a quarterback. Maybe they know something that's wrong with Carson Wentz, but that just didn't make much sense to me. I really wanted the Patriots to end up with Jalen Hurts at some point because I think his full potential could be Russell Wilson-esque. Sometimes I get those names mixed up. So if that guy can be Russell Wilson, then, great. That's a great pick. But I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense to me to take that guy that high when you have a young quarterback like Carson Wentz, unless those injuries really are taking a toll on his body. But yeah, going back to the Patriots, I give him a B for this draft. I'm still not loving the Kyle Duggar pick. I think the rest of it can work out, though. It's all yet to be seen. Last year's draft class, it's yet to be seen. No one really stepped up besides Chase Winovich, and if he's the guy that ends up being the best pick from that draft last year, which I really hope he isn't, because that'll be really bad. A late round pick being your best player out of that draft, you can't do that. You can't have that. So it's yet to be seen with guys like N'Keal Harry, with Jawan Williams, Damian Harris, Chase Winovich, those kinds of guys. And it'll be yet to see with these guys too once they get their opportunities. The linebackers and the tight ends are the guys that are going to really be the ones that jump right in there immediately. So, it's yet to be seen, and I'm really hoping that most of, if not all, these picks can hit. That'd be great. It would be definitely a trend in the right direction. It will separate them from other drafts that Bill has had recently, and I think it's time to end this video, because Nora, my dog, is not happy with where she's at right now. It's just so she wouldn't come and bother me with this video. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I'm going to try to post in my next video. I'm going to try to post something about the Red Sox and their punishment, because that kind of snuck in the news recently in the sports world. It wasn't big with the draft going on and everything. So I'll try to get that up, at some point later on this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.